One, and go.
Hello everyone, I'm Sandrin. I'll be doing a speedrun of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, 80% Glitchless, and with me on my virtual couch is my commentator Chaos Drifter.
How's it going, everyone? I may have been tricked, and I am being held against my will here. I know nothing about what's about to happen. Okay, I know some of the things that's about to happen, but I don't know this category that well, and everyone's been trying to bully me to learn the glitch list. So I think this is the opportunity.
He only Chaos only knows the glitchy side, but he's very well versed in the KotoR series. So, but anyhow, we'll be getting into the new game. So this part isn't timed. So we're gonna be choosing the female Jedi Guardian here because because male and female characters get two different characters. A male character will get handmaiden, whereas the female character gets disciple. And picking the male character is about a minute or two slower because of extra cutscenes at the end of the game. So just gonna choose a random portrait. And so for our build here, we'll be maxing out everything in strength. We'll be putting 14 in dexterity and constitution, and then 10 in wisdom. So since we're gonna be full combat based, we kind of want stats that will pretty much augment our combat abilities as best we can. And very luckily in this game, we don't use any skills here. So we just will put recommended, which will be in treat injury. We don't need any other points because our other party members can handle everything just fine. And we don't need persuade because one of the force abilities that we'll get pretty much will help us in everything. So for feats, we'll get weapon focused melee weapons because we like more damage or more chances of hitting. And for our name, what is the name of our character?
I will do one last refresh just to be sure. All right. The name of the character is Japanese Restream. All one word, capital J, capital R.
Okay, so I
Very
think that's
cool.
right. And then so time starts when I press play, so let's get started. 3, 2, 1, go. So for this first part, we kind of get stuck on the ship called the Evanhawk, where we're gonna play at Destroyed T3. So we're gonna do part of this prologue. Generally, you can skip it, but we actually want to do part of this prologue, and primarily to get a very particular item. So we're gonna do just a little bit of this because we want to grab an item that will help us pretty much skip one of the slower areas in the next part. So we gotta loot some stuff, and then we just gotta bash this footlocker. Normally, it can be really fast, but it can also take you a while if T3, which is the droid we're controlling, just doesn't know how to hit very well. So for those of you not in the know, KotoR 1 and 2 were basically based on a D&D system.
Also, getting that was actually pretty good. 4 is about average. I've seen as much as like 10 or 11 on trying to open up that footlocker.
Yeah, so this is pretty decent. I've had much worse than this. Sometimes T3, T3 sometimes just misses the mark. So we kind of wake up as our now main character in this place. So now we're just gonna make our way through the game here. We're gonna open this door to the morgue, and then we're gonna loot some bodies casually. So we're gonna grab this plasma torch here, which is gonna be a very nice item for pretty much most of this game. And then this dead lady comes up out of nowhere, just wakes up casually, and then just starts talking to us.
Would you say that you found what you're looking for amongst the dead?
Yes, I definitely wanted this plasma torch. So this is kind of like a little tutorial on equipment because they have us use that to bash a door. But the plasma torch is going to be really good pretty much for most of this game because the plasma torch basically one hits any locked door.
It's basically a lightsaber.
It's faster than the lightsaber because with the lightsaber, you have to wait like 3 or 4 seconds for the animation, but this, like, it's pretty much just instant. So plasma torch confirmed better than lightsaber.
If they had the plasma torch in episode 1, then they definitely would have been able to handle that entire problem.
Pretty much. So I'm going to loot some footlockers here because we're going to want some ion grenades. Ion grenades are are grenades that deal really good damage to droids, and some of the really dangerous enemies in the early game are droids. So we kind of want to grab some so that we can quickly kill them. And so now we're going to make our way to this computer here. We get our first level up here. We're going to learn 2-weapon fighting, and then we're going to get force speed, which is basically we go zoom. Force speed is really important in this game when it comes to speed running, because you want to basically run at a pretty much fast, as much as you can, because force speed increases your running speed by 50%, which is quite a bit. And so say hello to Atten here.
Hi, Atten. Did Atten ask if you were an angel?
I don't know, is our character an angel?
Actually, our character's the Japanese restream, so they're definitely an angel.
I agree. And so now we kind of try to make contact with whoever's around here, and we have to make contact with T3. So now we're gonna kind of go back to T3 and pretty much make, and T3's gonna try and make their way to try to open the door so that they can reunite. So all of this is just a lot of walking around. Paragus is pretty infamous for that. So there was
Paragus
some
gets a really bad rap, like over the community, not just like in the speedrunning community, but in the overarching community. It's just because it's a very dead planet, and it sets the tone for everything kind of being cut off and alone that the game presents. So a lot of people don't like it because you don't interact with a lot of characters. And the speedrunning community, there's just a whole bunch of areas where things can just go wrong. So it's not quite as bad anymore, but it used to be pretty rough back in the day.
Yep.
Especially if you care about the alacrity.
Yeah, so Paragus control you pretty hard because there's just a lot of things. There's stuff that can stun you, and since you have a really low amount of force speed, since you're a Jedi Guardian, if you don't get an alacrity, you're basically going to automatically lose at least like 20-30 seconds just from running slow. So we're just going to spam one talk to Atten because we're trying to go fast to get the hell out of here.
Atten's only deserved us just mashing enter.
Yep.
He hasn't earned anything else yet. Except for there, I think he earned a 4.
Yep. So he basically kind of like, if you don't press that option and just tell him to sawed off, he basically just kind of like tells you, oh, like this and that. So you just want to press forward so you don't get like any extra prompt. So now here we're just running around here, and we're gonna loot some corpses because we do need some items, and these corpses have a chance of giving us alacrity as well as some useful shields. So we get alacrity here. Alacrity here is really nice, but oftentimes because the loot table is completely randomized, so we don't know what we're getting. That's pretty bad. Oh well. So generally, like, you would want to get an alacrity, 2 alacrities, one for this part and one at the end, because right here we're pretty much gonna lose all of our force. We can't cast force speed since we don't have enough force, so we're kind of forced to just like slowly run over. Yeah, so that's pretty unfortunate.
So kind of going back to before where we mentioned like press 4 and mash and all that kind of stuff. All these conversations that we have in the game they're a number system, so you can press like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or whatever, depending on whatever the conversation options are. So as runners, we have to memorize all of these different conversations and like some sort of number sequence. So it looks like this is just a 1 mash there, but there's some really complicated ones that are later on, like with Kreia. She has some really crazy ones that I don't have to know because I run any percent with glitches.
Yeah, Chaos is spoiled and gets to skip pretty much every single thing in the game. If you haven't seen any percent, it's a really, really fast run. Like, this is about like 2.5 hours, but any percent is like, really? Any percent is like 20 minutes?
Yeah, one of the other runners, 30 Cents, who is basically the god gamer of KoTOR 2. He has a, what was it, 1948, I think is what it is for this run. And that's in game time. I think that the real time is like just under 21 minutes.
So if you
So,
hated the spacewalk in KotoR 1, you're gonna love this one in KoTOR 2. I actually waited for to get force feedback because it's really nice to have you go zoom in a spacesuit.
now for the longest cutscene that could definitely have been shortened in the whole game.
That's about.
This entire cutscene is just this ship right here being connecting to the ship. I guess fuel line, right? Something like that.
I wonder if they did plan on cutting part of this cutscene, but because of time constraints, they just decided to leave it all in. Or if the plan was to always have this be way too long.
Yeah, this entire cutscene is just this ship connecting to this the Progress mining facility. That's literally it. It's a very actionable cutscene. I guess they're trying to like show off the ship or something, you know. Unfortunately.
I mean, in real life, it would be this slow. So I guess maybe that's what they're going for. Just trying to add to the tension and the drama, I guess. I don't know.
Something
It'd
like
also
that, I
be
guess.
kind of funny to imagine this thing just flying in and just like it launching right into the side. Just going at like hyperspace speeds and just ramming right into the side, and the things just immediately jut right into it.
Oh my goodness.
I want to see a video of that somewhere. I'm not nearly talented enough to even attempt that.
But yeah, after this long cutscene, it's pretty much a lot of good old running around. This is one of the kind of trolly places because there's droids here that can stun you. So hopefully that will not be happening. Fortunately, you don't lose too much time because their stun is a lot shorter, but later on in the game, it's going to definitely be pretty sketchy. But yeah, we make pretty much quite a bit of a long stride just to get off this mining facility. I think like in the cut content, which for those who are wondering, there is like this game was rushed, unfortunately, on release, and so they had to cut quite a few things. Oh hey, there's the old lady again.
We need to make our way to the docking area on this level. I fear the airlock has already opened.
So Priya's gonna join our party, aka the old lady.
Yes.
She's actually a very useful character, and not in the way you think. So she has an ability called, I think, Mentor Link or something like that. I don't know the exact name. That's kind of bad, but
I think you're right. I think it is called Mentor Link.
so basically, any force powers that you use,
Yes.
the other person will get it. So like you have a force bond between her and your main character, and if you know what an HM friend in Pokemon is like, that's what Kreia basically is. That's her purpose.
Good thing we have a clear run to the ship.
Also, that HK50 droid that kind of talked to us comes back again.
Turns out the only other character that we can talk to on this entire asteroid is evil. Who would have thought?
Yeah, everyone. I don't know why everyone's trying to kill us. We didn't do anything. So, it's a pretty simple fight. We're gonna throw a sonic grenade to kill the ads, and then we're gonna throw a ion grenade here. Because ion grenades deal pretty high damage to droids. So, pretty much all we need to do, and then we're just gonna need to walk by.
Just say the word.
I hear you.
This can take a little while if you don't get like really good damage
Say
rolls.
the word.
What is it?
But HK doesn't do any damage, and also these droids here can kind of troll you too, because you have to like actually go into the interface and make the move.
I hear you.
So at this part, this game introduces a system called the influence system.
Something.
Basically, if you kind of do things that if you tell your party member like do an action that they approve of, your influence you can gain influence with them. So that's gonna have like benefits, quote unquote benefits that can range from like you can turn them into a Jedi, which in this game you can turn a lot of your characters into a Jedi.
Are you guys still doing that for all quests? I
Not for
remember
all
that there was
quests.
there was the whole like turn Atten into a Jedi thing.
Yeah,
Use
so one of the earlier renditions of this category was turning Atten into a Jedi, because so there's a character that in the first iteration of this we actually use a character called Vices, who is inherently a Jedi, but in early renditions we couldn't get her early enough in time, so we had Atten become the Jedi. But now, thanks to some nice nifty route changes and some new findings that we have, we basically skipped that, because getting Atten to become a Jedi was a little bit slow, since you had to go through a lot of dialogue with him, and you kind of have to be careful. So we kind of cut that out, and now we have Vices, so who inherently becomes a Jedi. But yeah, in this game you can turn like almost everyone into a Jedi. So here's gonna be another long cutscene, but this is pretty unlike the other one. This one's gonna be pretty significant now, because we're gonna see one of the big bad, evil-looking Sith Lords.
Probably one of my favorite cutscenes, honestly, is like this whole sequence here.
Yeah.
Like after everything at the beginning, this is kind of like the intense moment. Although Scion kind of just standing there, A-posing on us is kind of little weird.
Yep.
Whatever.
It is what it is. So really, so after this, we kind of need to break through some more doors. I'm gonna break this footlocker here, because it gives us a second viral blade, because this game has kind of like randomized loot, but there's only like a very set few amount of places where the loot is not set. So generally in this category, we kind of tried to go for like consistent loot. And thanks to Chaos, who, even though he doesn't run Glitchless, he looked into some research and made some really nice changes that no longer rely on bad RNG for finding equipment, which we'll see later on.
There are some items that we might pick up. Like I'm assuming you're talking about like the Zabrek Viper Blade and like the double bladed, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So there are some other options that if you get good RNG, they've already been figured out to be worth it or not. But we'll just see what ends up happening. But the loot tables in this game are just so frustrating to look at, because like not only are the loot tables random, but also some of the tables that you can get are also random. So it's really difficult to figure out exactly what you can get from a certain area, because there's just so much randomization.
Yeah. Unlike KotoR 1 had more kind of static static loot. Also, this cutscene is pretty cool too. So this is kind of like more detailed on their bond, because as Kreia loses her hand, your main character also kind of feels it.
What's wrong? Are you all right?
So this bond between your main character and Kreia is pretty significant, even though it's not like fully explained in unless it's on the release. So we're gonna equip some items here, because we're gonna have to run through quite a bit of mines, and it's pretty annoying. So I'm gonna equip this energy shield here so I can tank some damage. Now what this energy shield does is that it absorbs kind of like damage based on like the class. So like since the energy shield absorbs like blaster damage, so as you see here, or like energy damage, so as you see here, like I'm not taking any damage from these droids. And to progress to this area, also annoyingly enough, you have to pretty much manually detonate all the all of the mines, which is pretty annoying. So, and since I got an alacrity earlier, this part's gonna be more manageable here.
HK is actually the one who set all those mines, if you didn't know, because he wanted to make sure that you couldn't get through that whole area, because it should be impossible unless a ship decided to dock and they went through the docking area. So the only way you could actually leave this place if exactly what happened here happened. Or HK. He was just a man with a plan, and did not execute well.
If it weren't for that, for those meddling, Sith assassins. Yeah, so thankfully we're at the last part of Haragus, and we have to go through a lot of mines here. I'm gonna level up here because leveling up here actually replenishes your HP fully, so we kind of make use of that.
Those mines are actually a really, really annoying part of routing, because I remember whenever we were first starting on this and trying to figure out how in the world we were going to be able to get through those mines quickly and have enough HP. And for a lot of new runners who get their level up and they're ready to use it immediately, they get to that section and they're like, oh no.
Yeah, I would say those mines do like a decent amount of damage compared to like what level you are. Oh, also, we're back to Yevon Hawk. This is gonna be a pretty loud section, so sorry for everyone's ears. I can't control this because audio balancing is kind of bad, so I'll try my best not to make it too loud. But this is basically a session where you shoot a bunch of Sith going for you.
I seem to remember that there's one other instance of us having the turret section of the game, but I've never seen it again since I was a child. So do you do this again on Nar Shaddaa?
No, you don't.
Where am I remembering this from?
Maybe it's from the Restoration mod, I guess?
I've never played Restoration.
When in doubt, Restoration mod. Yeah, so what we're talking about, the mod, the Restoration mod was, basically it took quite a few of the unfinished files and basically added a lot of content and fixes onto this game since a lot of it was cut out. But unfortunately for this run,
Also in private,
we cannot. We're not allowed to use any mods. This is basically unmodded. And then here's coming up the longest conversation ever with Kreia, so I'll let Chaos explain what we're doing for this.
Have you come?
Yeah, so basically Kreia is very, very old, very wise, and she definitely likes to talk. So there's a very complicated series of conversation here. I'm assuming that we're going to try to get as much light side points as possible out of her. So because she's like so like naturally attuned to the Force and all that kind of stuff, and she's supposed to be teaching you how to regain your Force, she asks you a lot of questions, and like you can figure out like, oh, am I going to be a good person, am I going to be a bad person, that kind of stuff from that. So you can do that whole conversation a lot shorter, and in any percent we do, like it's a 2-2-2-2-2-2-2-2-1-5-1. But in this case, I have no idea what that conversation was. That looked much longer than what we do.
Yeah, so we do that really long conversation because we kind of need to farm alignment points. So our alignment doesn't specifically matter in this run. The only requirement is that we are between neutral and light side to get a certain character later on, but we will actually want to get like as many alignment shifts as possible because we want to get a certain character vices before a certain point. So in order to get vices, you need to be attuned to the light or dark side or have a total of 50 alignment shifts. So when we kind of routed some things in to basically kind of try to influence this alignment shift as fast as possible.
That was another really big routing issue that we had at first, trying to figure out how we were going to get vices and figuring out what the process was. It was actually surprisingly close, if I remember right, which one was easier to do.
Also, we got arrested after we landed on Telos because we apparently they saw us cause some ruckus, but and then there's lots of people coming in assassinating us as usual. But now we beat. So now that Batu Rem guy who tried to beat us up basically got big time beaten up because I don't know. Probably thought we were easy pickings, I guess.
The real Batu Rem is never found. Even in the restored content mod, that entire quest line is just left undone.
Maybe we can get.
It was that cut content. It was so cut content that even the restored cut content isn't enough cut content.
So here I'm skipping the calls because we don't really want to listen to them. We're kind of trying to get our beauty sleep here since we've had a lot of stuff happen to us on Paragus and Telos, and we don't want to hear it from people. But basically, there's a bunch of people here that kind of want our assistance, namely the Thorians and the Zerka people. But so the Zerka people are kind of like more dark side oriented, while the Ithorians are kind of like more light side. But we choose to help the Ithorians because the Ithorians have like very little in the way of combat, and helping the Zerka people, there's quite a bit more combat that you have to do. And so now a lot of this part is pretty much just kind of doing some backering, because unlike in KotoR 1, your party members did not have to be close to you to transition into a new area, and we are going to pretty much make really good use of this. So we're gonna one spam all of these for undeserving souls because you know, we are trying to go fast. And so we're gonna do a bit more macroing here by going to this merchant, which will be doing a pretty big shopping menu later here. So this menu can kind of, so that shopping menu that we're gonna do later can vary.
Alright, everyone hold on to your hats because we need some good RNG here.
Yeah, so I'm really hoping for a certain item called like either a Sith War Sword or a Zabrak Vibroblade. So that thing will pretty much greatly enhance like my attacking power and ability to hit.
Are you gonna reset for it, or is the route comfortable enough that you can just, take really bad RNG?
The route's pretty comfortable enough where you can take bad RNG. Like, it saves you some time and convenience, but it's not like a run ender if you have to do the alternate basic method. So we're gonna loot everything in here because for whatever reason they decided to put all of our stuff in like 7 to 8 different lockers.
It's a lot of stuff. Can you imagine putting that all in one locker?
Oh, that's unfortunate. So that's fine. I'm looking for some basic items that I can use for a certain part later. So I'm going to buy this military suit, and then I'm going to buy these 2 ion grenades. I'm going to buy this alacrity and stamina. I also need to sell this. So this gives us 3.3 thousand credits, which is really nice because we can do kind of like our first priority shopping here. So I'm gonna buy like 10 alacrities, 8 staminas, and then a total of 8 strengths. So we didn't get any good weapons, so we'll be sticking with the good old Vibro Sword and Vibro Blade. Thankfully, it's not the end of the world. It's just a little unfortunate. So I'm not gonna buy some more med packs here because we're gonna definitely need them for later.
Just say the word.
Yes.
And then we are pretty much done with the first shopping section. So that was a pretty good shopping section. So unfortunately we did not get the weapon, but RNG is RNG, so some people bug us, which we just spam out of it. There's gonna be a lot of different people who bug us. Now I'm gonna level up here since it's a good time to. So we're gonna put. So I press recommended because it pretty much gives us everything that we need, thankfully, which is just treat injury and strength. And then we're going to be coming into our first battle here, which is actually pretty easy. So basically at this, so in this so we choose out the Ithorians who kind of like wanted to help escort a droid over to them. And then on the process, there's a bunch of thugs who kind of ambush up, but we're just gonna beat them up. So yeah, you can see that I've invested pretty much all of the points that I could into strength, because we're gonna want to do pretty much as much damage as possible. So how the scaling in this game works is that their HP and their armor rating, which I think in D&D it's like what do you call it?
AC or
AC?
THACO if it's way back, but that's a little different.
Yeah, so their armor rating is slightly based on the level, so if
Sorry, THACO's to hit before anyone actually sees me in chat. I had to think about it for a second. It's early in the morning. Sorry. I just
no, it's all
remembered.
good. So basically,
Hello there.
we're pretty much really underleveled for pretty much the entirety of this game. There is a base HP that monsters and like people you face will go by, but for the most part, it's scaled. And for those people who have played this casually, you do get a prestige class at level 15, but we're not even going to hit level 15. We'll be ending this game at either level 12 or 13. And so that's why our build is really important, and the items that we need are really important and need to be consistent so that we can basically complete this game in an orderly fashion. So here's going to be another combat segment. I'm going to level up here since I have an opportunity to, so I'm going to get improved two weapon fighting so that I have a better chance to hit. And then we're basically going to crash this large party. So what happened here is that the Dorians kind of want the exchange, which is these guys, to stop harassing them. And so we kind of like enter into like a deal with that lady that we talked to in the cantina, Luxa. Or like, hey, we'll help you out. And you gotta let us in since they don't let people in that much. And so, yeah, we pretty much just start beating up people. So they send a bunch of stuff to destroy us. And so, pretty much for our build, we'll be going with critical strikes as the build, because critical strikes pretty much, we have the appropriate build to do so, as well as the items. So later on, we'll be getting the items that will help us, give us a much better chance to crit hit, which will pretty much make us steal in the which you'll see later in the end game. We're going to be dealing a lot of damage.
The damage calculator was a lot of fun to work on. There's a whole buttload of variables that go into figuring out how much damage that we can put out around, and it is a hefty process to figure out. But luckily, because of how consistent we are,
I think you cut it out there.
Sorry, can you hear me now? Fine. Is that
all
good? Okay. So with the calculator, being able to figure everything out, even though it's not 100% of the time exactly how good it is, we were able to find a very consistent amount of damage that we're able to do. The biggest problem honestly comes in whenever we fight some of the late game bosses and a few other characters, because otherwise we should just be one-shotting or two-shotting just about everyone in the game, especially once we get a little bit higher level.
Yeah, and there's going to be a couple things that you'll see on the way that will help us quite a bit. So I go to the left here, or to the right here, to avoid a cutscene that plays if you get near those guys. And also, shoutouts to Chaos for making the calculator, because before I looked into it, it was KotoR 2 in general, which is largely unexplored.
Yes.
I hear you.
Yeah, the KotoR 2's strategy wiki is vastly underdone. I guess it seems almost appropriate to the game itself, which is also vastly underdone. But when doing research on this game, if you compare it to the KotoR 1 strategy wiki, it's night and day.
Good.
Which reminds me, has there ever been any work on figuring out if the Hissus glitch the infinite XP glitch, which may be considered not a glitch by some people. Um, if that's that's going to be used anywhere, or has that been decidedly not good?
So it's not really useful for any percent, since we don't really need to grind out levels. It might be useful in all quest or something, but or like Glitchless all quest maybe.
No one's gone through and figured it out quite yet, I'm guessing.
Maybe our fellow runner, Range, who shoutouts to him, really good KotoR runner, will take up the helm one day.
I'm still a believer in flowing for Master Force Scream and then just going up and Master Force Screaming them.
Everyone talks about how Force Storm is like really cool, but it's unfortunate we don't use it in the speedrun, since generally most of the time Force powers aren't very good to use. It's just easier to grab a weapon and just bash them.
So, okay, so some fun facts about Force Storm that I learned.
Also, sorry to cut in. This droid celebrating their freedom. I don't know why Jane doesn't do anything. No, she's right there.
Why did they give that droid a blaster? I guess they're evil, so that explains why.
Maybe.
Search their corpse, though.
Anyhow, back to what you were talking about.
My brain died. What was I talking about? Oh no.
I think you were talking about... You were talking about the Hissus glitch, or was that before?
Oh, Force Storm. So Force Storm.
Yeah.
So Force Storm is really good at higher levels. First of all, it does the exact same amount of damage as Shock, if you didn't know. Shock and Force Storm are the same amount of damage to each target. So if you're only single targeting the whole game long, and you only care about your single target damage, there's no reason to ever get Force Storm, because all it does is it just, attacks a whole bunch of people, which is very useful, don't get me wrong. But that's never going to be a speedrunning issue, because we never really have to attack big groups of enemies, except in this Hissus, hypothetical. So when I was doing research into checking it out, there's this glitch, I mentioned it before, called a flu, where you can... It's basically you fake level up, so you can pretend to get to whatever level you want, and then take whatever you want at that level, and then you return to your original level. So, like, let's say you want to get stuff from level 18, but you're really level 2. You can do that. It's a glitch, obviously. So we can't do that right now. So the actual damage that you can get as like a level 2 is way better with Master Force Scream than you could ever get with Force Storm. The only way how it does more damage is if you're like, I think it's like level 15 or 16 is whenever it starts to do more damage, which is ironically when you're supposed to get Master Force Scream. So if you get it the normal way, it's always going to be worse. So there you go. There's your fun fact about Force Scream and Force Storm and all that.
Yes.
Hey, the droid revolution is I'm sure the droid revolution might come soon enough. But ooh, I was not supposed to bring Kreia there. So yeah, we also have a new character called KotoR. He's a Zabrak who used to work as a technician for our main character, the Exile. He's also infamous for the very ASMR voice.
And he committed war crimes.
General.
Need something?
Yeah, we're doing more running around. We don't really need to kill any of these. But pretty much this next section is going to be extremely scary, because we're going to come up on one of the most RNG sections in this game, and it is terrible because, one, we are forced to use KotoR, who has really bad defenses and likes to get stunned a lot, and two, there's a lot of stuff in there that can stun you and basically permanently troll you, so let's hope it doesn't end up like that. But yeah, aside from that, we get to do more running around, but this next fight coming up that we're forced to do can be pretty that can be pretty bad because as you'll see soon here, these guys are gonna have shields, and we don't really have like any good way of breaking through shields. So I kind of want this person to melee me, but unfortunately they're not. So I'm gonna throw 2 regular grenades because these ion grenades go through shields. But unfortunately these guys can also heal sometimes. So fortunately I did not get the break their shields fast enough, and this is a kind of a slow fight, but that's okay.
Man, that guy's being real mean.
I know. So what I learned there was force deflect. So you'll probably notice we don't have lightsaber, and that's because since we were exiled from the Jedi Order, we have no lightsaber. Hopefully we'll be getting one soon, TM.
What's going on?
Oh, meantime, I'll move these guys over.
What is it?
Yeah. So we're apparently, so for this game, like, we kind of had to build our own lightsaber. And so we lost ours to some unfortunate events of getting exiled. So, pretty much, so for this, like, kind of first half of the game-ish, you're kind of locked into, like, one planet, but then after that, you'll kind of have some freedom to explore the other planets. And then I'll explain the details of that as we get to it, but pretty much our general objective with the planets is to be able to get a lightsaber as fast as possible, since a lightsaber deals quite a bit more damage than our poor pair of vibro swords and vibro blades. So yeah, welcome to the worst RNG part. So I'm actually gonna do a safety manual save here.
What is it?
So you'll notice I'm not doing a quick save, and I'll let Chaos explain why we don't.
So, this game, if you haven't figured out from us talking about any percent glitched, is very glitchy. There's a whole bunch of things that we can do, and all of them kind of stem from the quick save. There's a whole bunch of things that we can do. Basically the big thing is that there's this pause and unpause event for how the game works, and we're able to abuse all of that kind of stuff for like load-ins and being able to buffer things and copy and like save data, that kind of stuff. And it gets really, really complicated really quickly. So we can't. It's better for us to completely ban quick saves and just say that anytime you need to save, you just make a hard save. It's just way easier for us as mods to be able to control that than to try to be aware of every single use of quick save. The biggest and easiest option that's available to using quick saves is a trick called hard buffering. So if you, for example, let's say a cutscene earlier on, the Paragas cutscene whenever the ship landed. If you know where the trigger for it is, and then you quick save and keep quick saving through the trigger, you can then load a hard save, and the game will recognize that the cutscene was supposed to have started, and that the trigger has already occurred once. So this is some rough luck for Bayotur.
So this is why it's scary, because these droids here like to stun you, and they do a lot of damage. So that's why I went out of my way to buy some basic armor for Bayotur, so he has less of a chance of getting hit. And yeah, there's like 6 of these droids that can stun you. That's why I like to call this place the RNG base. And there's nothing I can do here except for wait and chug med packs.
This whole area is also really hard in any percent as well, because they can still do this even though you're a level 12 character in that, which is a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah, I have a feeling they kind of like badly scaled this. I do hear like casual playthroughs of this, people complaining about this place, because they are right, this place hurts.
I mean, we're definitely underleveled here, for sure, but still.
Yeah, so thankfully that's part 1 done, but we still have a part 2 and part 3 to deal with. So you'll notice I put my characters in that corner at the beginning, so this is totally legal, but if you turn off solo mode and they're far enough from you, just teleport over.
What is it?
So we're kind of making good use of mechanics here.
There's a little bit of discourse on like whether stuff like that or like skipping another part of the game later on counts as a glitch, and we had to have this conversation about stuff like that. Which I've got to say, if there's anything that I know about the KotoR community is that we love debates about how to label our glitches and whether or not something is a glitch or not.
Yeah,
It's
especially in KotoR 2 because this game is by nature quite glitchy since unfortunately it was rushed. So there's always kind of like that weird border of glitch and non-glitched. And so yeah, that's the second part done. That second part was really good. The first part was not very good, but we're past this part now. We just need to get through one part because unfortunately after this, we have to take Kreia on a trip past that same area. Which isn't as bad because Kreia is quite a bit more, can dodge quite a bit more hits than Balder, but you can get stunned and it's still really annoying. So I'm gonna unequip everything from Balder here. Let's start this reactor. So basically what we're trying to do is kind of like access the military base because since our other ship crash landed and apparently there's this place where our Evan Hawk was at, which is on this like kind of like cold place. So we're trying to find a ship that can take us there. So I'm going to equip Kreia now with some gear. I'm going to give her an energy shield, give her the miner uniform. That's all she wears. So thankfully she also has 4 speed, which makes this a little bit easier. And so hopefully I won't get stunned. So you'll also notice I stay like at this corner because if I go pretty much just like go straight, it'll trigger that cutscene with that person. And it doesn't lose you that much time, but you just don't want to like trigger cutscenes that you don't need because that guy just follows you around and is basically useless. So thankfully that part went smooth, and then now we can unlock the hangar doors, and then now the last thing we need to do is just speed up this giant tank droid. This used to be a really scary fight, but now that we have ion grenades, we'll just chuck a whole bunch of ion grenades.
Why don't you just shoot it once with a gun?
Well, unfortunately we're not that spoiled. We don't have the ultimate weapon, as I call it.
God, I love that gun. It's so good. There's and I'm referring to the Kill Blaster, which is one of the most broken things that they put in for dev testing, which we have the ability to get a hold of, but not now because this is a pure and good speed run. There's nothing bad about this at all. It's certainly not slow either, I swear.
Also, the HK droids have been following us again.
They just don't stop, do they?
I know. So I'm actually gonna have a little break from here. We normally don't kill them, but I'm trying to grab one of the HK parts. I actually have a spare ion grenade. I'll just throw it at them. Nice damage. And these guys, I think we need to beat them up. These guys are definitely fake wannabes of a certain character. These HK-50 droids were based on another prototype droid called HK-47. So HK-47 is also a very beloved character by many people. And one of our donation incentives, if it gets met, is to free him because HK is trapped all by his lone self in a small compartment, and we have to in order to unlock him, you kind of basically have to kind of grab his missing parts and rebuild him. So if you don't want HK to sit there and sit there forever deactivated in agony, you should consider donating to free him.
So time to go to jail one more time.
Yep, I think it's a pretty well-known trend. You know, even Atten mentions it. Why are we always in cells wherever we go? So we're gonna meet another really important character here. That ends up being kind of like semi-important.
Atris is actually one of my favorite characters in the whole KotoR series. There's also a little spoiler back there. Ooh, foreshadowing. Ooh.
Yeah,
Probably my favorite part about this game actually is really just how good the writing and the tone that they put into this and all the different sets of foreshadowing in it.
Oh, I messed up this combo.
So I would never forget.
Oh no, I kind of screwed up this conversation, but that's okay. Basically, she talks about the ship and the...
Take your ship.
Basically,
I don't care where
she
you
kind
go,
of like
just
gives us
leave
some
this
kind of
place. Leave
lecture
Telos.
on how we got exiled, basically. And so she's like one of the lost Jedi who had a hidden enclave here because this game takes place about 5 years after the first KotoR game. And basically in that time, pretty much all the Jedi were eliminated by a trio group of people who kind of pretty much started causing a lot of ruckus. Yeah, so in Odd the Paragus, like Atten kind of asks you about the color of your lightsaber, and Atris is basically wearing whatever lightsaber that you chose, and since we spammed one, we have a red lightsaber. We were totally not in the dark side while we're in Jedi Order, by the way.
Red as Legric's eye. Or something like that.
And so now she kind of gives us our ship back because, you know, we're kind of needing to go fast. So we smash one there because it also gives us, I took that long conversation with Atris. It's supposed to be a little shorter than that, but we have a slightly longer conversation with Atris because we want to gain some light side point. We want to gain some alignment points for later.
And we have Best Boy back.
Best Boy T3. And so now, pretty much from this point on, this game is pretty much going to be open world for the most part.
We're off that Dejaric board of a planet. I say we burn sky until we see lines.
So T3 kind of discovers this this holocron where it talks about it talks about why your main character got exiled from the Jedi Order. Because the Exile, which is your main character, they pretty much kind of went into the Mandalorian Wars with Revan and Malik, and then because of their actions, they got exiled. And then I think in the process, they kind of like gradually started losing connection to the Force. And then that's why we're kind of like on this quest to kind of like try to regain our Force.
Well, they had all of the Force until the incident on
They sure like their
Malachor.
secrets, don't they?
And then the only way for them to live was for them to cut themselves off from the Force themselves.
In general.
Or at least that's the option that they chose.
Yeah.
Everyone has some connection to Malachor in some form or fashion, except for, I think, the Handmaiden wasn't there. I think everyone else was.
What about T3?
T3 wasn't there, you're right, but T3 was there for KoTOR 1.
Yeah.
And HK could have been there. Maybe,
I think HK
don't
could have been there. So
But,
now that so basically our objective from here now is to kind of like try to find the missing Jedi Masters, to find out why, to kind of like help us regain our power back. And so our first stop here is on Korriban, which is pretty nice here because we fit Korriban as the first planet because there's pretty much absolutely no combat. Because we kind of want to try to avoid combat as much as possible because we are still really weak and we don't have a lightsaber, so we pretty much do. So the order of the planets is Korriban, Dantooine, Duxin/Onderon, and then Nar Shaddaa. Because Nar Shaddaa and Onderon have more heavy combat focused sections, we kind of want to avoid them, and doing Dantooine and Korriban gives us enough to get us a lightsaber. So apparently one of the Jedi came into this Sith Academy looking for... I don't know what they were looking for, but I think they were trying to look for kind of like data or something.
It's really unclear because it's a lot of cut content. But I think that the story with Vash is that she came here to try to understand exactly why Sith turned and what happened after the Sith Academy was collapsed. So I think she was like historianizing. She was archaeologying. She was trying to do the learning. She got ripped in the process.
Yeah, so basically, now our main objective is just to pretty much find out like what happened to like all the Jedi, since there's hardly any left. So we're gonna grab that holocron there, and it's quiz time. But thankfully, we know how to exactly solve this quiz, so it's not a problem. So we have to do this quiz where we answer questions about the Sith code and some miscellaneous questions. So all of this process is just pretty much get us in this room, and then so the Korriban used to be like kind of a longer section, but thanks to this new skip that we're still currently debating about, but it seems to be that most of us are okay with it, we could pretty much skip the other half of this, and this is why this is a very short planet. So we're gonna go to this computer panel, we're gonna press a bunch of random buttons so that this door opens, and then bad RNG, but we find Master Bosch, who was unfortunately killed.
Yeah, poor Vosh. She just kind of got tortured to death.
So in normal play, like you would kind of go back to the middle, but since I turned on solo mode and put Baelder at the beginning, where we can pretty much just leave Korriban for free.
So the main consensus is that, so basically, like, if you were to go the normal route, if you were to like just walk back to the center, it locks the door, and then you have to do some combat and some more stuff and figure out a way to get out. But since we're not doing a glitch, all we're doing is abusing a game mechanic, and you know, the devs just not thinking it all the way through. That's why most people are okay with that glitch, or that skip. But it's still getting debated about. So you know, in another couple months, it could totally be different.
Yeah, so pretty much like I mentioned before, in KotoR 1, your party members have to be close to you, but in KotoR 2, they do not have to be close to you. So that's why we kind of make that's why you'll see throughout this game we kind of make really heavy use of our party members not being close to each other, so that we can easily transition between areas. And so here we are back here with our fellow HM friend Kreia for our 4 speed needs, because this is also going to be a lot of running around and finding another missing Jedi who is apparently supposed to be here. So yeah, Kreia is a very useful character, but probably not in the way you think.
Do you still do that side quest on Nar Shaddaa to get the better stuff?
What is it?
Yeah, so that's basically
What is it?
how we can consistently get some really nice mods for our lightsaber, and what makes us pretty much a superpower.
Okay. So yeah, that's another big reason for why we do this planet order in particular. Then we want to do Nar Shaddaa later so we can get advantage from that. Also, if you remember from KotoR 1, Adam Larp is a character in KotoR 1, and he's still selling stuff. He's been keeping up the trade business, and he doesn't have a lot of his really, really expensive stuff anymore, so I assume that he's doing pretty well nowadays.
I'm doing another shop menu here to buy battle stims. So in KotoR 1, there's quite a bit of like really good stims, but unfortunately in this game, there's not much of it. So we kind of basically have to make do with the regular stims as much as possible. We do have the shops that we do visit have enough to pretty much give us one entire full set of hyper stims, which gives us better stats than regular stims, which will pretty much help us quite a bit in the late game. So yeah, stims are also basically why we can do a lot of damage too, because they give us like really good stat bonuses. And without that and without any of the bad side effects too, since it doesn't really mention that in KotoR. So stim's good to go fast in this game.
Do we have time for a couple announcements?
Sure.
First of all, we have opened a new bid war for Final Fantasy, the run coming up later in the day. You can name the warrior, the thief, the black mage, and the white mage. Also, I'm checking the goals right now, and we are still short on the freeing HK47 goal. About how much more time would we have till that?
So I have until pretty much the very last planet and before we start the endgame portion, so not for like at least an hour more or so, I would say.
All right, well, we still have time. Excellent. Also, 6.5K.
Hey, nice, let's go. So yeah, we're gonna recruit. So this is the main difference between a male and female Jedi that we can pick. So if you were a male character, you won't get the Disciple as a character. And the Disciple doesn't really have many cutscenes, unlike with the Handmaiden, which you would get right after the Hidden Enclave. Once after as a male character, since in the end game, there's a section where you kind of face off against a certain character as the Handmaiden, and it just pretty much loses you a lot of time because it also plays a cutscene that I believe you cannot skip.
Yeah, there's a conversation. I mean, you could skip it, but we can't skip it here. There are ways.
Yeah, I'm sure that would have been useful. Unfortunately, we cannot. This is a pure, no glitches, no big glitches EM run. As long as this game is nice to me and doesn't glitch, because sometimes this game does tend to randomly glitch since it's pretty unstable.
Yeah, there is one glitch that is really, really frustrating for glitchless runners, and that especially Sanjan, which is called a DLZ. And so basically the game has a really hard time understanding these edge cases for where your character's standing at. What? And so, for example, let's say that the edge of a door frame is at like exactly X coordinate 1. Okay, it's always not 1, but just for the sake of argument, let's just say it's exactly 1. If your character's center of their model is standing on exactly 1, no matter where they are, like on the Y plane, for some reason the game interprets that you're standing inside of that door frame, and then we'll just say, oh, okay, you meant to go through there, and it'll transition you to another area. And because that's abusable, it's actually banned in Glitchless. So if you accidentally just happen to step on the exact correct coordinate, then you end up just killing your 2.5 hour long run, which is a big sad, and it happens, especially to Sanjan.
I've had plenty of world record pace runs, both in KotoR 1 and 2, that have died because of a random unfortunate DLZ. it's a very sad thing to happen, and there's other runners who have had that happen to them as well.
What is kind of cool though is that this was something that has always been kind of just a feels bad man for like forever, but now, especially in K1, in K1 any percent unrestricted, it's actually the meta now because we've figured out so many different techniques and areas for us to go to. And one day I'm gonna get around to actually doing the I think it's 7 or 8 DLZ route, and trying to get the new record with that. That'll be kind of fun once I finally have time again.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, basically we rescued Brooke there. I also that's pretty much the last kind of, it's not really scary combat, but if you don't get good rolls, you can get trolled. And I did also go out of my way to talk to this person because while technically you don't need to do that quest, that person gives us 3,000 credits, and the credits route is pretty tight because the items that we want to buy later on in Narshada after we do the quest costs quite a bit of money.
Brooke's also a really unhappy camper right now with us because he was really trying to stay undercover and basically make it seem as though the mercenaries were winning, so that way he could just take them out in one fell swoop. So us releasing him from jail is actually the worst thing that we could have done from his perspective. So he's not happy with us right now, but that's okay.
I see you.
I mean, ungrateful Jedi, I would say. And so here, in the first iteration of this route, we had to help these guys out, but thankfully, we don't have to help them out anymore, and this saves around like a minute or so, because these enemies are pretty tough, and basically, if we have to fight here, Rook comes in to carry, and we basically just let him deal the work, but now here, we just, you know, we're so cheap that we'll accept the 1,000 credit bribe. You pretty much kill an entire group of people. And then Rook is like, oh, bad RNG.
Now watch and learn. This form is a Taru. And don't try using this form amidst heavy
Poor
fire.
Brooke. He was just trying to help out.
Apparently he didn't see it, but we're really easily bribable, pretty much. Just pretty much throw any money at us, and you know, then they can do dark side thing, or then they can pretty much kill people. But yeah, doing that saves a good amount of time. That's why we take the dark side option, and the dark side option doesn't really affect us that much because for the most part we're still in the neutral, which is what we want. And so now we have to, so the really annoying part about routing this too is that every time we come in here, there's going to be cutscenes that play, and these cutscenes take quite a long time. So we try to route around like getting the least amount of cutscenes in one go.
You know,
and then now we're off to Duxon. So in the story, we pretty much crash land here because there's people trying to shoot at us. Because of course there's always people hunting us. And then we kind of crash land on this planet, which apparently has some people.
General?
And then now we're gonna get our lightsaber. So our lightsaber by default is a green lightsaber. If you had any other lightsabers, then you could choose that. So we're gonna take out Korea and T3, and now I'm gonna make a manual save here and then exit the game. So this game, as I mentioned before, tends to crash quite a bit. And eventually what happens as you go in through the memory leak. There's a memory leak in this game, and it starts to grow bigger and bigger. And as it grows, pretty much you're basically you get this effect called fast text. And then while I'm running through here, I'll let Chaos explain it.
So, fast text is basically there's so much leaked memory that the game can't exactly figure out where the sound files are, or I think they can't find the lip files either too. But Lane will probably hear this and then correct me later on about how I'm dumb and don't know what I'm talking about, but that's okay. So, but the game can't find those files, and because of that, it just skips all of the animation and skips all of the sound. And so, because we can just mash through everything, it just immediately just goes through all this text super fast. And instead of us having to click or mash or do anything like that, it just skips everything for us, and we're able to just click all the buttons really quick. The good news is that that's definitely faster. The bad news is that our game is about to crash. So you can't really do it for very long or very often. Is it allowed in Glitchless? I think
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
allowed in Glitchless because you can't prevent it.
Yeah.
So basically, even Glitchless has some valid glitches, like what we call
Duration glitch.
duration glitch. So basically, any glitch that we can't prevent, we allow. So duration glitch is one of that, even though it's not as effective in KotoR 2. But what duration glitch is that when you transition into a different area, it'll kind of like extend the duration of like your stims or like your force powers, and it's used pretty heavily in the glitchless run of KotoR 1, but it's not as useful in KotoR 2 since it's not as effective.
To be fair, duration glitch was done on purpose by the devs. Like, it is explicitly done on purpose. Because back in 2004, 2002, back then, the amount of time it took for the game to load from one area to the next was obviously a lot longer. When you had to load this on an Xbox, the loading times are ridiculous. So, in order to combat the fact that all of your stems are based off of like a second timer, then they extended the timer every time you'd go through a loading zone transition. I think it's like 10 to 15 seconds or something like that, or maybe longer. I don't know. But basically, every time you go through one of those transitions, then it extends it a little bit longer than it was before, which is really nice. Sometimes it doesn't do it though, which is also very weird.
Yeah, it's like when you do a glitchless run, generally, like you kind of want to generally like do a couple runs to get a feel for how your duration glitch works. It tends to be consistent in the beginning for the most part, at least in my experience, but it actually also differs by hardware. So that's why like the effectiveness is like kind of hardware based, so that's why when you do a run, you kind of like generally have to do a couple of runs to get the feel of how you can use your stims, utilize the stims to the best of your ability. And so now here, we're basically, we kind of find this Mandalorian camp, and then we're talking to this person called Mandalore. And, you know, we kind of tell him, hey, we need to get to Onderon. And then so he's like, yeah, sure, I can take you there, but I kind of need you to help us with a couple things, and now we're basically just running tasks for him. Yeah, you're gonna see a little bit of macroing here since we need to go grab like, so we pretty much just basically do the quest or any quest that is pretty much the fastest, which is grabbing those power converters, and then also basically helping repair those things that, as you saw me do earlier. That was a really quick fight. That fight can go pretty bad because your main character is pretty squishy still. This is gonna be, or your character being squishy is like kind of a consistent problem across the game, but pretty much for the most part, we're basically like a glass cannon build. And so this last Canuck here has the last part that we need. So yeah,
We're causing all sorts of problems in this jungle.
Yep. And then we're gonna detonate this thing. We're gonna make the wildlife really mad. We're also gonna grab this ear here. We're gonna grab this for some extra money. And then, since we don't need characters near us, we can pretty much just like directly transition in. Now we just need to turn in all of our quest. And then now after that, we have pretty much gained Mandalore's trust. And I'm gonna do a safety save here because if I mash too quickly on a certain part, I can soft lock my game.
I'm going to talk with Zuka and have him start a shuttle flight check. After that, we'll head out. How are the port stabilizers? They check out Mandalore.
And there's gonna be a lot of kind of future foreshadowing here.
Within the hour.
You're gonna see Rhea being creepy and talking to people.
Mandalore.
Also, Sith assassins following us everywhere. And so now they've attacked the camp and, you know, we're the superheroes, so we gotta help them out. So this fight operates pretty weirdly because we can directly skip that first part, but we kind of do have to eliminate all of these Sith. Not all of them that spawn, because there's certain Sith that has like a lot of HP, and then there's like these Sith which don't have that much HP, so there's... Yeah, so in this case, Force Storm would be really nice, because there's a lot of like enemies around us, but unfortunately we just have to pretty much smack everyone with our lightsaber.
Yeah, this fight kind of sucks. It even sucks in like higher, you know, easier categories too, just because you have to kill so many dudes and it just takes so long to do. I'm surprised that we haven't figured out some method of skipping this in any form or fashion yet.
So, so I think it's random based on like how much the other Mandalorians hit. Like these guys are finished on their side, but these guys are done on their side. Weirdly enough. So yeah, that was pretty quick. We're gonna bring Cray with us because, you know, because HM friend for force speed. I'm gonna level up here because this level up is important because we get Master 2 weapon fighting, so that we can hit more frequently since we're using dual weapons, and we get Night Speed. The Night Speed is really nice because Night Speed gives us an additional attack. And then if you saw that what Rook kind of helped us do was learning a lightsaber form, that's also going to come to play because certain lightsaber forms give you certain bonuses, and there's a certain lightsaber form called Juyo that we'll be getting in the endgame that also gives us an additional attack. So pretty much the additional attacks is what makes the crit build, as we call it, extremely good. Kriya here for safety.
Poor power attack though, never gets its time to shine.
Zalbar uses power attack in the speedrun. And so yeah, there's gonna be a lot of people attacking us.
We have Zalbar in the speedrun?
Yeah, not in the speedrun, sadly. We don't even get evil Zalbar.
Big Sag. I wish that we could. I still have the dream of getting Hanhar, and then making him a Marauder, and doing all that kind of stuff, just to see how absolutely destructive he would be.
Fun fact: I think in the cut content or something, they wanted Hanhar to become a Jedi, but I think LucasArts plot-wise said no Wookiee Jedis. Pretty unfortunate.
Which is really silly because there is a Wookiee Jedi in the old Legends content. It's I think the character is Chewbacca's niece. Oh God, it's been so long. But it's in the new Jedi Order series, the book series.
Interesting.
She gets her she makes her lightsaber out of a Rancor tooth.
That's very interesting. So yeah, you'll see me doing like a lot of manual saves here because it's part of like I have crashed here before, and the last auto save would have set me like 5 or 6 minutes behind, which is no bueno. And so now, so Mandalore took us here because he knows someone that can kind of like help us get access to the palace. But unfortunately, they got kind of captured. bad RNG. And now we have to go save them. I do want to ask though, how does a Wookiee Jedi work? Like, is it just the same thing?
I mean, I think so. Yeah, they were just a normal Jedi person. Lobaka. Okay.
I just want to picture just like a Wookiee coming up. Like, you wouldn't think they were Jedi, but then they pretty much just come around, like, whip out the lightsaber and just like mess up your day. That image just sounds really funny to me. So now we have to talk to this droid for some items, but we're also gonna grab shop here to sell this assault rifle that we got. So we sold at some other shops. It would sell for much less. But here, I go here to buy a certain item.
I hear you.
Okay, I looked it up. I was kind of combining two separate characters together in my head. It's been over 15 years since I've read this book series, so. But the Tenel Ka Jo was the female Jedi who wielded the Rancor that she killed as a kid. Like, she used the Rancor tooth for her hilt. And then Lobaka is a separate character who he is the nephew of Chewbacca.
Wearing a Rancor tooth as a hilt, that sounds really cool, I'm not gonna lie. And so now that we've rescued him, he has one more task to give us, because apparently his stuff got lost to some looter. And we'll also take that time because this person that we're gonna kill also gives us some really useful items. So I'm gonna stim up here for more damage.
What do you?
And yeah, so you'll just pretty much see, like, we basically dealt 80 damage, and if you thought that damage was amazing, I think the end game will pretty much amaze you. So I actually grabbed this, but I need to talk to her because she gives us pretty much 7,000 credits, which is quite a bit considering our money route is pretty tight. We get a lot of dark side points, but thankfully we don't really care about our alignment, so that's perfectly fine.
Hey, every alignment shift gets us one step closer.
One step closer to glory. And then now he arranges a meeting with Master KotoR, but you know, this guy kind of comes in and crashes the party.
Get word to you when I'm able. Run.
What have you done to my men? Blast! Men, take care of her.
Who's your favorite Jedi Master?
I will silence this.
Let's see. I liked Rook, because he was big time carry in the earlier version of the speedrun. I have no opinion on Zez Kyle, but ever since he has stuff of nightmares for other runners, I've kind of erred towards liking him.
I understand.
But KotoR is honestly the coolest Jedi Master because he's got that sway look as well.
I mean, do you see the way he power attacks guys? I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Honestly, cooler than anyone else. The other Jedi Masters are lame-o. Too bad we don't get to see that much of KotoR in general, though.
I mean, I think Vash is the coolest. She keeps everything nice and simple for us.
That's a good point. And so that's it for Honor on 1, and then we do have another big,
But that's enough for now. We'll have time to talk later.
we do have another big, pretty much menuing, or, not menuing, but a shopping instance, because, we get to, soon enough, come up with my favorite form of, cheese. And there's gonna be a lot of it. And also some really useful items, because this is gonna be the place where we get med packs. So we're gonna shop here. We're gonna buy this hyper battle stem, the only one we get in the game. We'll buy some more alacrities. over here. And then we're gonna buy 9 frag mines, and you might be wondering why. Also a lot of med pack or advanced med packs. Because why not? We're gonna unequip this too. So you're gonna be wondering why we're gonna buy mines, but it's gonna be extremely useful for us for this next planet, because for a good amount of this next planet, we actually will not be, for the good half of this planet, we will not be using our main character. And since we obviously have not invested in our other characters, we're gonna be really weak, or they're gonna be really weak. So this did take a good while to kind of like find a good way to get past that, but
the smuggler's moon.
thankfully we did find what you're gonna see, the ultimate form of cheese.
Galaxy has to offer.
And so yeah, this is basically Narshada. This is gonna be a big kind of like intro cutscene. There's a lot of battles here, and there's also a section where we don't, like I said, we don't have the main character, so that's why we kind of leave Narshada last year.
I think Goto may be my least used favorite character. Out of because he has almost nothing past Narshada, but he's actually a really cool concept of a character, I feel.
Yes.
There's a lot of underused characters in this game, unfortunately. Kreia being not one of them. But everyone else kind of like compared to Kreia is like heavily shafted, honestly.
Yeah. It's pretty unfortunate, and, so you don't need to do this, but...
Can you imagine if every single character got Kreia levels of writing?
Oh, it would be like the ultimate game. Like, I already felt like the story is, like, actually pretty interesting, just because, like, you kind of, like, get to see the Force, but it's not, like, black and white. Because, like, generally, like, when you kind of, like, see characters talking about the Force, it's kind of like, oh, you're evil, or, like, oh, you're good, but in this game, like, it's Kreia kind of shows you that it's not as straightforward as it seems, if I said that correctly.
Yeah, for sure. Although, Kreia is also definitely in the wrong, without a doubt. The Force manipulates me, so the only way to fix that is to kill everyone in the galaxy. Wait, Kreia, no, hold up. Your first half was right. You were halfway there. The problem is accepting it.
She got us in the first half. Not gonna lie. But yeah, now there's a bit of complex things that we have to do in Narshada. I also forgot to the manual save, which I'm gonna do here because this portion gets pretty touchy, and if I don't do it right, then it's really bad. So in this, for this planet, the Jedi that we're supposed to find is pretty hard to find, so we're kind of like trying to gain the attention of the exchange here by doing deeds that make us look notorious. So the first thing in order is I talk to that person to start a quest, and then we're basically gonna beat up this guy so that we can gain notoriety. Not the best combat, but that's okay. This is also kind of scary because those guys can attack Kreia, and since I obviously haven't leveled up Kreia, he's really squishy. Also, there's gonna be those guys will be relevant. I should turn solo mode off. So now, this is why we kind of like went around like grabbing a lot of money.
I hear you.
Now I'm gonna park my main character at this person, or park Kreia over there.
Yes.
I'll talk to this person. So, these two merchants are kind of like in a conflict with each other for whatever reason.
I hear
and then we kind of solve by basically telling this guy to kind of like sawed off.
Like, his equipment is definitely a lot better in the early game, but if you just wait until the late game and just side with I think her name is Greta, right?
Yeah,
If you side
Gita.
with Gita. If you side with her and it's the late game, then she's just like, oh, I can just establish trade routes with other planets. And you're like, you can? Great. We don't need the other guy. And then she's able to get some of the most ridiculous items in the game for us, like Sanjay was mentioning, especially the Apala.
Yeah, so I'll let you explain why I bought those crystals.
Which two did you get this
I
time?
got the
It was
Apala and the next tour.
Right. Okay. So the Apala gives us what's called massive criticals. So every time we get a critical hit, then we're going to do an extra between 2 to 12 damage, or 2d6 extra damage. And where this really comes into play is that we have Master Crit Strike, or Improved Crit Strike. I don't know what level you're at right now. So for every level of Crit Strike, it increases our range by 1. So what that means is with a lightsaber, we normally hit on a 19 through 20. But if we have Improved Crit Strike, it increases it to, I think it's ×2, or is it ×3? So it'll make it like a 14 through 20. So if you roll between a 14 through 20 and it hits, then you'll actually do double damage. And then with the massive criticals, now we add on another 2d12 extra damage on top of that every single time. And then with Master Force Speed, or Improved Speed, and with Juyo, we're getting all these extra attacks. We're really likely to hit critical hits every single time we attack, and we're doing all this extra damage in general while things are all getting doubled. So the damage output is ridiculously high. And because we really only hit whenever we roll high anyways, because we're so under leveled, it makes it even better, because every time we're hitting, we're usually critting. So, it's basically, oh, you're gonna hit, okay, great, you're doing double damage almost no matter what, which is really nice. The only times whenever it's gonna be better to flurry is whenever you're ridiculously high level, and flurry starts to get really, really out of hand the higher and higher levels you get. Which in all quest categories is typically the case. Anyway, high damage number is good.
Yeah, you're gonna see in the end game with the lightsabers we have, we're pretty much gonna potentially like start 1 or 2 hitting bosses, which is a pretty big deal, because those bosses also do like a lot of damage to us, like just because I mentioned we're basically glass cannons for the most part. And we're frequently also going to be running through a lot of areas which are pretty much like extremely dangerous. So we talked to this guy because we need him to kind of like spawn one of the main quests that we'll be doing later. And then now that we've kind of done our task here, so now we need to go take care of these people who have apparently invaded our ship.
So, have we explained exactly why we're doing all this stuff on Arshada yet?
Some of it, yes. Just like the shopping and stuff.
Okay, so we haven't explained what exactly lore-wise is going on right now. So basically, so Zez-Kyle, I don't even know if we explained why we're even searching for these Jedi Masters. So, basically, Zez-Kyle escaped to Nar Shaddaa, and we were like, okay, well, he's been missing, and trying to find one person on this planet of like billions of people is going to be really hard. So only way for us to find him is for him to find us. So the only way for that to happen is to get the exchange to notice us and make sure that they start coming after us. So that way he'll be like, man, I gotta go and help this guy again. So that's our game plan. Get him we're gonna force him to come and help us. So we're getting into all this trouble. We're messing with the exchange so much. We're just poking buttons, poking the bear, and soon they're gonna come for us, or we're gonna get a nice little invitation after having disrupted their business so much.
And so this is why we kind of want to get Vice as early as possible. So this is pretty much like the very last part and earliest that we can get her, without like going significantly out of our way for life points, because she is the only person that inherently comes with the Jedi, and she's also extremely useful because she is a Jedi Sentinel who has access to stealth, and stealth is going to be very useful for this game, because we're gonna need to try to be as sneaky as possible, since we are gonna be going through some pretty dangerous areas, and she will be basically our replacement Jedi for this section, since we do not have since we won't be having our main character. So I gave my main character a lightsaber because of Force Jump. I forgot to mention Force Jump, but we choose a Jedi Guardian primarily because of better combat stats, since Jedi Guardians are combat oriented, as well as Force Jump. So what Force Jump does is that if you're like enough of a distance from your enemy, you'll pretty much jump to them. So this pretty much saves out a lot on walking.
So actually, in KotoR 2, there is no better stats for the Guardian compared to the Counselor, other than your HP, I guess. But you don't get an extra base attack bonus increase like in KotoR 1.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until I was doing all that research on the calculator, and then I was very surprised because that is a big deal in K1, but it's just not at all in K2 for some reason. Probably because they just cut it.
And so now here is the time for a lot of cutscenes, and also a lot of like kind of side quest little things, because we are not going to be playing as the main character for pretty much this good half of Narshada. So basically we kind of cut to Anne here like getting a drink at a cantina, and these two ladies trying to kill us. But you know, what kind of tree should we call this? Chaos?
Set it and forget it. Okay, wait. I can think of something better than that. Uh-oh. That's not good. I don't know. You do this a lot, this run.
Well, that's it. I better get back to the ship.
Chat.
Warn the others.
What do you think this cheese should be? All you're doing is you're just setting mines on the ground and just, oh, don't worry, I'm getting hit. It's no big deal. And then eventually they just walk onto the mine you just set and they kill themselves. What is that? There's got to be a good name for it.
See, I don't know my cheeses that much, so like I basically a mozzarella cheese one trick, because I love my pizza.
I still can't get over that boba tea pizza that I found the other day. The Domino's sells. Mindless destruction.
Mining XP. Now I'm just thinking of other games like RuneScape. Also, so I forgot to mention one crucial part. So if you're dark side aligned, you will get Hanhar instead of Myra, which is the current character we're controlling right now. So generally, Hanhar would be faster because you don't do a combat segment at the end of the game if you chose Hanhar, but KotoR's yacht has some really, really terrible mechanics, known as the 5 million amounts of deadly mines that you deal with. And Myra conveniently has a special ability that lets her take no damage from mines, and doesn't activate them even if they're enemy mines, and she just doesn't activate them. So this is why we choose Myra for the speedrun, because we do have to run through KotoR's yacht, which has a lot of unfortunate mines. So if we had chosen Hanhar, there was pretty much no good way of dealing with the mines. Okay, good. I did not get the bad RNG soft lock there. If you mash through that cutscene too fast, you can soft lock there, which is really bad. And that happened in my PB.
He's kind of a meanie at all of this.
He's the stuff of nightmares and other categories.
He's actually the big reason why I stopped playing All Planets. Like I was working through All Planets a lot, and I kept getting Zez not to spawn, so I just gave up eventually.
And so yeah, this is like a big chain of rescue sequences because Myra got themselves into trouble, and now our main character is following her because basically they wanted the exchange wanted the main character to meet up with them. And then now they're just causing like all this trouble, and yeah, that basically causes Kyle to come out and pretty much try to rescue people. Jedi mind trick. That's pretty good. That is really good.
Do we have time for a couple donations?
Sure.
We have $15 from the Fahach. I'm sorry for what I just did to your username. Thanks, Germensch, for all the restreams. You've done a good job. Hashtag Rumel, hashtag praise Civ. And $10 from Anonymous saying, I'm rooting for you from the Japanese restream. Good luck. And just as a quick update, we are still short on the goal for freeing HK47.
Yeah, so we're on the third out of four planets. So yeah, if you don't want HK to stand there in a poor state, please save HK. HK will thank you forever. Maybe not with the most ideal definition of love, but there's that. So yeah, more Jedi mind tricks, as they say. Okay, come on. So yeah, basically, it is really slow because we used to pretty much use a blaster to kill Monhart, and there's actually gonna be a second part because there's an extra battle. It was pretty much really slow, and now with the power of cheese, we can basically just skip over it. And I also gave her the plasma torch because there's gonna be some parts where she needs to break down some doors. You know, and then now she escapes the arena where it exchanges, the main character comes in as well. So yeah, this is just a huge little chain of rescues that's Kyle is doing. So yeah, that's not even the end of the cheese that we do. At the late game, we're gonna do some real big hefty, or not real big hefty cheese, but we have two more instances of the good old mine cheese, since it's pretty much just faster to do that instead of like have our not player character become or have them like manually shoot them because it's just really slow. Oh, I didn't get the swag force jump on that. And so now, in pursuit of Myra, our main character comes to the arena, dodging all these people, and then now we have an epic, quote-unquote, epic showdown. So yeah, so Visquis, which that person, I don't know what kind of species they are. I think it starts with an S, but I can't remember. But basically, they send a whole bunch of stuff on us, and then, unfortunately, bad RNG, they get betrayed by Goto.
Quarren.
Quarren? Okay.
Yeah, they come from the same planet of Mon Calamari.
I see. And also, more foreshadowing with our good old friend Kreia. As well as the duplicate corpses. And so yeah, our main character pretty much now gets captured onto KotoR ship. And so now our companion characters have to find out how to get our main character out of there. So now we kind of go to this part where T3's grabbing the launch codes from this place. So you kind of what they're doing. So they want to grab the launch codes here because they want to kind of like pose as, I believe, Vaga's freighter ship. If I'm pretty sure that's the case. So like because it was explained like a little bit earlier, but KotoR ships have been kind of like harassing Vaga's freighters by basically kind of like capturing them and stealing the supplies for their own use.
We have another Jedi mind trick there.
Yep, more Jedi mind tricks. The Jedi have been very influencing our companion characters here. So another unique feature that the influence system did. You do this puzzle real quick. Was that like the more influence you have with someone, like the more they gravitate towards like your side. So like I should say, for example, if you had a good influence with Atten and your light side, it would push him more towards the light side. But if you had low influence with them, they would pretty much be attuned to like the opposite side. So like in that case, Atten would become more attuned towards the dark side. But unfortunately, they didn't do like as very much with the influence system aside from like more finding out about that character and for other characters becoming a Jedi.
Once again, just so much left on the cutting room floor.
Yep.
For those that have been paying attention, there is rumors again. I don't know how confirmed it is because I haven't really had the time to pay attention of a remake or a redo of the KotoR series. I don't know if they're combining one or two or what exactly, but hopefully, if they are doing two or if they do two, then they get to take a lot of that cut content and really, really flesh it out. Even though they're probably not going to make it the same D&D style as it is now.
And so yeah, here's the part where Stealth is going to be really useful. So I'm going to do a long kind of level up session on Vices because this is pretty much necessary since we're going to be using it for 2 parts of this game. So what's coming up like after this, right after this, a little bit after this part is probably another one of the most scariest parts because you'll kind of notice really quick, Vices is very squishy. So we're going to turn on Stealth here. And KotoR 1 doesn't use Stealth because it's too slow, but since Vices can get the feat called Stealth Run, this pretty much makes Vices and formerly Atten really good because they can pretty much sneak through the entire KotoR's yacht without getting caught. Because in order to talk to these droids, you need to be out of combat. And and if we were in combat, we had to kill a whole bunch of droids, which is just generally like a large waste of time. Yeah, pretty much the only part of this game where it's entirely useful. Also, Peep pretty much breaking the door open so none of the droids noticing. I think Goto needs to hire needs to better their defense system. If Vices is running around breaking doors and they can't even catch that. So now for this next part, we're going to send Myra out to pretty much go to this place, and then you're pretty much going to see why we cannot really choose Honhar for this part, because you're going to see why it's really bad, because we're going to go through an entire minefield, and thankfully Myra's skill set pretty much makes her the perfect person to bring here. So in this place, Goto's gonna activate the mines, and these deadly mines, they deal a base of, I believe, like 30 damage. And then if you fail to save, like 60 or something ridiculous. And there's like 30, like 20 of these mines, so like, even if you brought Hanhar, who's just really taking in a very good fighter, in general, like, you would have a really hard time pretty much getting through this place without like dying a bunch of times, especially with the other characters around. So that's why we choose Myra.
Those are frag mines, right?
Yeah, deadly frag mines.
Yeah, so they do 54 damage. And then it's a DC 30 for half damage, which is a really high roll to get for a reflex save.
My life is yours.
So should be able to just like absolutely annihilate most things. They're very good for Jedi mind tricks.
Yeah. Well, you know, you'll be seeing a certain Jedi mind trick with our favorite set of mines. And so yeah, this is why we have Vice Scissors, because these lightsabers, even in Vice's hands, the upgraded lightsabers pretty much make you deal quite a bit of nice damage. So yeah, we pretty much make Vice's our budget main character. We just have to kill these things, the only combat section, thankfully, to free our main character. So yeah, now that we freed our main character, we just need to activate the main power system, and then we're home free. At least for this planet. So you also notice along the way we deactivated everything. And then so I'm going to actually do some multitasking here.
My life is yours.
Macroing, so if you like more Jedi mind tricks, this is the perfect time, because we're going to be grabbing 5 of those deadly mines. So when you give a automatically level Myra, she has pretty much basically good enough level to recover these mines. So we'll be grabbing 5 of them for a certain upcoming fight very later on in the game.
Let's move out.
So we need to come back here because we need to open that containment hatchet to get out of here. So that's why we have to bring Myra over there again. So yeah, this is. I think if you do like Narshada first, like, these are still deadly mines, which is like really terrible given character scaling. So the game's like kind of trying to, well, basically low key kind of like trying to have you choose Myra. Just need to unlock this.
I really wish that we could figure out some way for Hanhar to survive, but it's just too difficult.
And so now we are out of Goto's yacht.
So,
And then I can't mash through here too fast because I can also soft lock here. So yeah, there's the hiding says Kyle. He's gonna teach us the
this Xian form should
Xian
prove
form. So the Xian form gives you a nice bonus to lightsaber deflection, which is gonna be useful
and it shall also
for
guard you
this
against
next planet,
all
since we're
threats
gonna be going
and
through
elements.
a lot of people who are gonna be trying to shooting us down. And so now with that finished, we are done with Narshada.
So that leaves us with Onderon 2, and then wrapping the game up. So we're actually getting fairly close to the end. I think there's like another 30 minutes left, right? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, about 30 minutes left or so. How are we looking on the HK incentive?
That incentive has still not been met yet.
You guys gotta save HK. Don't let HK be deactivated forever in the Ebon Hawk. He's the best droid ever. Now, since we finished that planet, I don't know what the timing is. I don't know if I don't remember off the top of my head in casual play if Onderon 2 is supposed to be like your very last planet, because in glitch categories you can actually do Onderon 2 much earlier than intended, thanks to like a glitch called Hotshot, which I'll let it's not relevant in glitchless runs, of course, because it is a glitch, but I believe like what it does is kind of skips I think one of the major cutscene breaking points, because normally you have to wait till much later to do Onderon 2.
So, I'm gonna just give a very brief description because it's too early in the morning to try to fully explain Hotshots. Or too late at night in your case. So, it's long story short, Hotshot is a way for us to time travel and dimension hop. We can create multiple dimensions where we've been through one timeline, then go back and take all of the information, knowledge, and quests updates that we have, and then go to any location that we've been before. And it's just a whole entire mess of things that we can do through a whole series of glitches and menu access and file manipulation. It's sounds a lot more complicated than the actual application of doing it, but the routing of it is where it gets really complicated because we have to be very careful, especially in categories like no dev tools, which is another really cool category, which I don't know how. I've been kind of absent from the scene for a little bit these last couple of months since school started, but I don't know how much work has gone into the no dev tools runs for KoTOR 2.
I routed it for all quests, but I believe the other ones haven't been routed very much, though I do know some runners have done runs of it, like very early on before the glitch was discovered. Oh, that's unfortunate. So, yeah, this is Tomb of Frida Nod. Again, we can't use our main character here. This is the last extremely scary part because, as you see here, Vices has a really low amount of HP.
It wasn't that bad, though. It could have been much worse.
Now, this next part is going to be really scary because there's like a trio boss at the end that we face, and basically they can basically deal like 30-40 damage. And when Vices doesn't have that much HP, it's very sketchy. But thankfully, this first like little half of this next part isn't too bad. It's just running around, but I actually like have to manually save because I have gotten like killed in one hit before, pretty much. And that's basically kind of a run ender if Vices dies because she is your only source of DPS. So it's pretty common to lose like a good amount of time, especially if you're the boss's target Vices. And that's also why we bring Mandalore and Disciple, because they're the tankiest members of the group. They have quite a bit of HP. Like Mandalore pretty much has double the HP Vices has, and their only purpose is to basically just soak hits. So yeah, now we sent in a different team to investigate here because there's some like sketchy stuff happening here where they're kind of like trying to do some kind of like ritual. I don't know exactly for what though, but they were trying to do some like kind of ritual, and we gotta stop them, obviously.
This whole tomb is actually one of my favorite sections as a kid. I found this whole area to be very, very cool, just from the aesthetic, and because Exar Kun is a really cool Dark Jedi. He's a bad dude.
Captain.
Was he in this tomb? Because this tomb was like for Frida Nod.
Was it Frida Nod?
Yeah.
I thought it was the Exar Kun.
But yes, really scary fight coming up here. These triple Sith Masters. So I'm going to run back here because that brings Mandalorian Disciple over to me. And I'm going to make a manual save here just in case the fight goes really bad. And then I'm basically just going to flurry and hope I kill them as fast as possible. Because if you're unlucky, Vice is pretty much misses them all the time. But thankfully that was a really good fight. So I'm going to loot this guy because this guy has some really nice weapons that I can loot, or a really nice set of gauntlets that I want to loot. And then I'm going to...
XR Kun went to Frida Nod's tomb.
Ah, I see.
That's why I was getting them mixed up together.
That makes sense. But yeah, that's the last really scary part of this game done. And now we no longer have to deal with other characters because from now on here we can pretty much use our main character only for our damage. So that I unequip Vicer because that's the last use she'll be getting. And we're gonna grab Atten here just because he's the first selectable character. And then now we can finally for reals equip some really nice weapons. So those Sith power gauntlets give you plus 3 strength, which is really good because it gives us quite a bit of damage and hit chance. So you always want to like find gear that gives you plus strength in the speedrun because plus 3 strength goes quite a bit long ways. And my characters are almost dying. That's not good.
There are two.
Now we're doing more running around here.
The royalists in the bunker are contained. Deploy as soon as the reinforcements arrive. Jedi, here.
Onderon has a pretty good reputation for sending like an entire army of people after you. Because there's always frequently like 10-20 people trying to attack you on Onderon.
So I tried to figure out exactly what the ritual's for, and yeah, they just don't explain it. I'm assuming it's just something dark side power. Dark side power is good. Another fun fact is you know Darth Bane, yeah? Remember Darth Bane?
Yeah.
This is where Darth Bane goes whenever he's solo journeying around. And he's like, oh, I need to go. He's trying to find out information and collect Sith holocrons after he made the Sith Order kind of implode on itself. And he comes there, and that's where he gets the Orbalisk armor, which is like this parasite, like lizard. There's like this parasite that like attaches itself to his flesh, and like creates lightsaber resistant armor for him, so he'll never be able to remove the armor ever again. But using the dark side, he's able to prevent it from ever like consuming his body like the torture is meant to do.
Interesting.
So, yeah. The Darth Bane books, really good. Highly suggest them. Written by the same guy who wrote the KotoR games.
What is it?
Or, well, at least helped on the KotoR games. Drew Karpashian, I think is how you pronounce his name.
Oh yeah, I remember that name. He's a... Oh no. Okay, so yeah. Now we're in this palace. We kind of basically had to save the queen. Because now there's a huge ruckus going on because KoTOR is kind of basically, I think, quote-unquote, the queen's unofficial guard or like advisor or whatever. Something like that. And so now we have to help him kind of deal with all this chaos that's been happening because the Onderon army, led by General Tobin, has been pretty much causing chaos. Or has officially decided to attack because they want to take over. They pretty much want to take over the palace and like stage a coup de grace. I don't know if I said that right, but hopefully I said that right.
Well, the coup de grace is a killing. They're just wanting to commit a coup.
Yeah.
But still, point being, they're, Vaklu is trying to kill his wife, I guess. They are married, right? Am I crazy?
I don't think they're married.
I thought for sure they were married.
Also, this is a pretty scary part because these droids in the next room can stun you, and Rhea's really squishy, and these guys deal a lot of damage, so I want to be really careful. Ideally here I have the plasma torch, which is gets its last use, but I didn't, so I had
That was
to
your
stick with the
cousin.
lightsaber. Yeah. And so now that part went well, so now we're gonna talk to this guy who helped us before, and now he's a hacker. And we're gonna pause this game because I need to interact with this security terminal before I get into combat, so
Not a glitch.
What is it?
definitely not a glitch. We're just abusing game mechanics. And so now the door's open.
You will go no further than this. You're too late. Our pet beast is about to breach the force
And then he
field
brags
in the
about his
throne
pet
room.
beast.
The queen will be dead in moments.
Watch out! I've lost control of the beast!
Pretty bad RNG. They didn't do a really... It sounds like they didn't really do a
Ignore
good
the
job
beast. Into the
of
throne
taming the
room.
beast.
The queen must die. Oh, blast
Do we have time for a couple donations and an update?
Sure, one second. So basically this fight is pretty simple. It is a little scary if you leave it at low HP for a lot of the time because it can, cause an earthquake, which deals, like, really massive amounts of damage. Also, our build is pretty much almost complete now. So, we just need to stim up here and quickly kill it, so... Otherwise, this is a pretty simple fight and can be really quick if, we deal good damage. So, yeah, you can, sorry, talk about some donations.
Okay, well, first off, we got $20 from Moni Vita, who said, "The weather is so nice, let's go to the beach," referring to the Shantae bid war. But an anonymous donator dropped $100 and said, C:/MSSF/HK-47.exe. And all of that went toward freeing HK-47, so that goal has been met.
Hey, let's go. No longer does HK-47 have to suffer in deactivated unglory. So now for this part, we're going to see KotoR being a badass here. This scene basically,
Look at the flip.
whoosh.
So cool.
Our
Every
attack
time.
really goes in.
Everything just for your ambition, Vatlu.
Not only does he go for power attack, he hits. He hits on that one shot.
Is a gross simplification, Talia. Change is a pain.
Yeah, so they have this epic showdown here, but we're basically gonna beat the crap out of him, and we're pretty much at our build end here, so we just hit 160 damage. Just like that.
Fire!
And we just matched once to see him die. Bad RNG. And we saved Onderon from a coup.
No coop for you.
Better luck next time. Also, Freya being creepy as always.
This war can still be won, and Onderon can
I
be
believe what
freed.
happens in plot-wise is that he pretty much, his job is to go out and kind of like inform the people on the Ravager, which is another ship that you'll find soon enough, about the attack, and then that's what causes the attack on Telos Station. And yes, we get to learn the best form in the game, Geo form. So Geo form is incredibly good because it gives us really good, it gives us some nice combat stats, but the most important stats is the additional attack. And so as you saw there, I dealt like 160 damage to Tobin, but with 2 extra attacks on top of that, 4 attacks times like 80 damage, I'm pretty much dealing like 300 damage
I sense
at only level, at pretty much really low levels, because right now I'm only level 12. And since we freed HK, after this cutscene plays here, we will free him. So these two here have an argument about the main character, because both of them pretty much have a low-key crush on them.
hearing things, but for a moment.
And so now that we've rounded up all the Jedi, they agreed to pretty much be on to meet us on Dantooine for some kind of epic showdown. So, hey, there's Myra running back. And now, here you go.
HK-47 activated.
There he is.
There he
Oh,
is.
boy.
Answer: no.
There he is, in all his glory.
What's your favorite HK quote?
I think my favorite one has to be the one where you install the droid pacifier on him. And then he's like begging for mercy. He's like, "No, don't do this to me. Get that thing out. Get it out." And also his love quote. His love quote is so freaking good.
Definition: love is making a shot to the knees of a target 120 kilometers away using an Aerotech sniper rifle with a tri-light scope. Statement: this, I am told, is subject to interpretation. Obviously, love is a matter of odds. No, not many meatbags could make such a shot, and strangely enough, not many meatbags would derive love from it. Yet for me, love is knowing your target, putting them in your targeting reticle, and together achieving a singular purpose against statistically long odds. So good.
It is freaking good. This is why we love HK. You know, he gets to walk with us for a nice walk. Unfortunately, I would probably try to use him for like a Frida Nad. But it is what it is, I suppose. So now we get into this pretty much epic little showdown, and where all the Jedi Masters kind of round up, and then Krei is kind of following behind us.
The year, but perhaps now they will see the truth at last.
And yeah, this is gonna be a long cutscene to mash through. The Three Stooges, I suppose, pretty much meet up with us, and they're like, "Hey, you're wounded in the Force. We kind of have to, you know, kill you to take care of that." And you're gonna see the other really cool stuff where Krei basically the Super Saiyan, as I say.
What? Step away.
And if she finishes, basically like unleashes her Super Saiyan form and insta kills all three of the Jedi Masters. So yeah, I wish she would have kind of given us that power a long time ago, but apparently that's too big brain for her. So also now we have I equipped the Ossus Keeper Rose because it gives us more force power to be used since we're going to be using our force powers a lot just to cast Force Enlightenment. So what Force Enlightenment does is that it combines the effects of Force Speed, Force Valor, and Force Aura. So I learned Force Aura, even though it's not ideal because I do have to press one more to I have to kind of like navigate to Force Speed. But it's Force Aura is just generally just useful and nice since it gives us more defensive stats. Since pretty much in the late game we'll be running through a ton of enemies. Also, you kind of noticed that kind of Atris kind of fell to the dark side. Since she's been hanging around those holocrons for too long. So if you had like a male exile here, you would have the Handmaiden, and there would have been a couple extra cutscenes where the Handmaiden would have had to try to deal with Atris unsuccessfully, but since we don't have her, we have Disciple instead. That pretty much saves us like a good minute or so, at least. And so now you're pretty much going to see the power of our build here. So, the Atris boss battle. definitely becomes a joke. Boom, just like that. So you also notice, like, a bit earlier, I also equipped the Freedom Mats lightsaber, because while it's an offhand lightsaber, it gives us better attack bonuses, and it pretty much has stats like that are almost like a regular one-handed lightsaber, which is really nice because it's a weapon that we get on the way.
You were looking for me,
And since we're two-handed or we dual wield weapons, it's a really convenient weapon for us to get. So we're gonna kick out now. We're gonna get our best friend droid here back with us. And so now the Ravager is attacking Telos Station, and now we pretty much have to go and save them. But we're just pretty much gonna quickly get on the Ravager because we don't have time to face a bunch of enemies.
Thank goodness.
So now we're gonna force jump to these dudes. You're gonna see. So this is still pretty quick since we can pretty much just force jump to all these eats. But my force speed ran out. And then now we're gonna get to the nice little back and break cutscene. It's a really nice cutscene because you're gonna see Mandalore look pretty badass here. So I should note one thing also was that we mashed 1 through Atton's very first mini cutscene because that sets the flag for Revan's alignment and such. And if you spam 1 through it, Carv's dead. So Carv doesn't become Admiral in this case. So if we had we not spammed that, Carv would be Admiral, and we'd have an extra cutscene with Carv. Also enjoy this really long cutscene. If you have any donations or anything to plug, feel free.
We did just make that goal for freeing HK47, but we have another goal that hasn't been met yet. For the run that's happening directly after this one, it's for Sombrero % for Snow Bros. That is currently sitting at $30 out of 100, and I still have faith that we can meet that one.
The vessel has suffered extensive structural damage, but its particle fields still maintain a minimal atmosphere within the ship. And our cargo, it's being brought aboard.
This is basically Mandalore's chance to be the big badass since he comes around and helps us with dealing with the Ravagers, because the Ravagers owned by a certain really evil Dark Lord of the Sith named Darth Nihilus. So basically, Darth Nihilus, I don't remember what type of person Darth Nihilus is, but basically he kind of pretty much to put it short, he feeds on the Force, so he basically pretty much eats planets. So if you saw, Vices is Nihilus's basically Nihilus's apprentice, and he kind of captured her pretty much because she was the only Miraculan left alive, pretty much, after he pretty much entirely ate the entire planet.
Yeah, and if you're wondering why there aren't that many other Jedi that are still around, it's because Nihilus actually ate all of them whenever they all went to Mira Luca. So the plot essentially went that Mira Luca was a extremely Force-sensitive planet, right?
Yeah.
And he was able to trick all the Jedi Masters from the first game, like Vandar, for example, to go to Mira Luca, and then just went and just gave it the good old suck, and well, now they're all dead, which really sucks, but is what it is. He also, to answer your question, he was human, but on the events of Malachor, whenever the mass shadow generator occurred, in order to just like the other main character and villains, his method of survival was to destroy his body and become one with the dark side of the Force, and made his mask a vessel for his personality and all of that.
Yeah,
So-
basically Malachor basically messed up a whole good bunch of people.
Bayodur committed war crimes that day.
And so now here we're gonna have this obviously very epic showdown with Nihilus. So there's you also notice I didn't really kind of like try to like my build doesn't really deal with force effects directly, and that's because pretty much all the huge majority of the Jedi don't cast any bad status effects on you, because so like they're the bad status effects like force choke or force stasis. The only Sith that do that to you is Nihilus, Trey, or the final boss, and Scion. So that's why we don't really bother to kind of like make it so that we can't deal that much damage, or to like prevent that. He can do this to us, like he can troll you with that, but most of the time, like at a certain HP threshold, he'll just cast Drain Life. So yeah, again, you'll see just pretty much how good this build is in terms of dealing damage. And we can pretty much just out DPS him now. And that's Nihilus, goodbye. And then now that we've killed Nihilus, we can pretty much finish our other task, which was to pretty much put a bunch of bombs around. You notice that I pretty much put 2 bombs, but I still have to do 2 more. So I went to do like the 2 that was on the way, but the other ones, these next ones will be better on the way.
So I'm gonna explain this part real quick too. So we kind of set up Nihilus as being absolutely ridiculously overpowered, and then we're just some dude that ends up, or some girl who just goes through and is able to just wreck him. The reason being is that this whole time we've been dealing with being what's called the void in the Force. So in order for us to have survived Malachor, we completely cut ourselves off from the Force, which is why Kreia is interested in us, because we're a very rare case of someone who's willingly cut themselves off from the Force. And ironically, by being completely cut off from the Force, we're still able to manipulate it. So we're using the Force in a totally different manner than anyone else. The Force doesn't run through us. We control the Force. Which it makes sense because we're a game. We control how the game works. So in Nihilus's case, whenever he tried to take the Force out of us, there was nothing to take. So instead, he basically just like put himself to a vacuum hose, and it was not a good time for him. That's why he collapsed to the ground, and it's just like that's not cool. And so that's why it's an even fight, even though he's someone who's like Galactus level in the verse.
That's a pretty good description. Putting themselves to a vacuum hose and expecting something good out of it.
I mean, he's basically just a bunch of dark side dust, you know?
Pretty
just stuck
much.
to a map.
Alrighty, so now we're done with the Ravager, and we're on to the very last planet where it all started. And yeah, so our Super Saiyan Kreia now turned into Dark Lord Treya. He shows off by killing all of these Sith assassins.
This cutscene here, we cannot skip at all. There's nothing that we can do to skip it that will allow us to continue the game. If you have heard or seen anything, we would love to know. Any percent would love to know how to skip this cutscene. It's a whole minute long.
Yep, pretty much.
There is much to be done.
There is much to be done. I'm gonna make a manual save here because I've actually died here before somehow. That just does a lot of damage. So now we're on Now we've pretty much crash landed on Malachor. Also, you'll notice like we don't play videos. Like generally there'd be like a movie that plays, but none of the movies are played because before you do a speed run, we generally delete all the. We generally like make sure that there's no movies, so none of the movies play. And so now here we're winding through this long area, so you'll notice that I'm intentionally killing all these storm beasts that appear here, and that's because later on we'll be going through this area with a certain really annoying character. Probably one of the worst segments of the game. Or the other worst segments, not because it's scary, but it's because it's really annoying and you kind of find yourself wondering why it was there.
Yeah, no one likes to do the remote section, especially as a kid. It's not it's not fun at all if you don't realize it's coming up. It does get you the aesthetic though of like this place is very scary, difficult, and deadly though whenever you're running through as the remote, and it makes you feel really, really strong as the main character, being able to actually fight these guys. But man, does it suck!
Oh yeah, definitely no bueno. It's also really cool to pretty much put on force, night speed, and just basically one hit everything here. So yeah, you'll know that's why I'm pretty much killing the storm beast here. That's to pretty much make the run here with a remote later on as safe as possible. Because you can get pretty much trapped and there's been times where like I'm pretty much stuck in a death loop with remote. And so we get another little mini boss here. So it's gonna lock us in, and there's gonna be like this more ginormous storm beast, but we've got the power. That thing looks really scary, but you know what? We're cooler, so. Oh, almost one hit it with the force jump. But yeah, the scaling in this game is like a little weird because like in casual gameplay, like your character becomes like really overpowered, and then like your companions are just basically a lot more ordinary. And then now after a bit of more walking, we're gonna do one last good bit of Jedi mind tricks. The good old Jedi mind tricks. So these Sith are basically gonna be welcoming us to basically what I would basically call it the Sith Castle, the ginormous Sith Castle. And so if you saw that foreshadowing with Honhar and Myra, you're pretty much correct because there's one last showdown with Honhar and Myra. That's also why Rhea kind of basically revived Honhar so that Honhar could get back to pretty much killing Myra, but we've got some Jedi mind tricks up our sleeves.
Yeah, the nice part about this fight is that it actually never mattered whether or not we live or die. So if Honhar gets like really lucky and just absolutely wrecks face, then you know that works too.
Oh, that's not good.
That's bad.
Oh, and where's my last save? Oh, we have to go through this part again. That's bad RNG.
Okay, well, we can figure out something to talk about. Let's see. So how's so All Quest has been a category that's been getting a lot of attention for KotoR recently. It's a little bit out of my small brain wheelhouse, but I know that you and Range and Indy have been putting a lot of work into it recently. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, so Glitchless All Quest is the hot new thing. I'm personally, I haven't ran Glitchless All Quest myself, but I do know that Range and Indy, who are also fellow speedrunners, very good at the game, have done a lot of work. So I'm more I'm more versed in the glitch part of it, because Glitchless All Quest and KotoR 1 has been like really complicated because there's a lot of different overarching quests on different planets. Thankfully in KotoR 2 it's much more simpler because the only pretty much the only cross planet quest is in Narshada with Gita. That's literally the only cross planet quest that you have.
And all you have to do is just do it last.
Yeah.
Really.
Or you can, like in some cases, hotshot to there. I think Glitch Unrestricted All Quest has done that, which we should also mention. Recently, our category, we've split up our general categories into like a rule set, so like glitchless, no major glitchless, and glitches, and unrestricted. So KotoR 2 is a little different because dev tools are so OP that the categories for there is called Glitchless, Unrestricted, and no dev tools. So I've done a decent bit of routing for All Quest with no dev tools, and it's pretty interesting because it restricts you from doing like some really useful tricks that normally wouldn't you wouldn't really impact most of the game, but it actually like kind of makes a huge difference because, for example, in Unrestricted All Quests for KotoR 2, like you have to go through the entire Unrestricted for All Quests, like you pretty much skip all of Narshada thanks to a certain very overpowered droid, but in no dev tools you pretty much have to do a lot of Narshada stuff as if it were glitchless because there's a lot of cutscenes you can't skip. Alright, so we're going back to the epic Sith castle here where they're all gonna bow to us, and I made a manual save this time because I honestly was not expecting to crash there, but that's okay. We should still be underestimate, I think, or just underestimate.
So, another thing that I wanted to bring up real quick is the randomizer, which is really, really cool stuff. Unfortunately, it's not. They haven't released a KoTOR 2 randomizer yet. KoTOR 1 is kind of the main game that most runners play. But the randomizer has a whole bunch of features and things that you can do to randomize and mess with the game with. No one else but me likes it, but I'm a big fan of the textures randomizer. So, for example, you could get like Myra's textures, for example, like her jacket textures or her hair or head textures, and just have them on like the ground, just repeating itself endlessly, or something like that, or whatever. There's a whole bunch of different things that could happen with the textures depending on the level of randomization that you do. Or you can just randomize where all the modules leave, or you could do both, or several other things. It's a whole bunch of really cool stuff that you can do, and there's actually starting to be more and more interested in our community as we keep on working on it. So that's another cool thing to keep an eye on if you're interested in our community.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone also wanted to see the Jedi mind trick again. I hope you all enjoyed the additional set of mind tricks that we did.
It's the last
for the
one.
Community. And now we're here to the really terrible casual part. So basically, I think what Bailder wanted Remote to do is kind of like reactivate the mass shadow generator to basically get rid of Malachor 5 one last time. So now we're doing that. Yeah, I did this again. I forgot to get one up here. So now we have to activate the generator spots.
Bailder is just ready to commit war crimes again.
So yeah, as Chaos mentioned, this part generates like really annoying because you're generally just like not prepared for it, and if you see remote stats here, it is definitely not equipped to deal with Storm Beast, which are typically really tough encounters. So that's why I went out of my way for my main character to kill them, so that remote would have the least trouble with dealing with them, because I also only have 3 repair kits. So I definitely can't afford to let remote get damaged that bad. So there's 4 of them that we have to activate. I got that first one, and then now we have the second one here. But yeah, this Storm Beast shouldn't hit us. Hopefully, generally most of the time, those Storm Beasts just spam their special sonic attack. I don't know what it's called, but it does like the sonic attack, which the remote doesn't really get affected by. But yeah, as you see, it does like 20 damage. It's like a decent chunk of our HP. So like, this part can get really scary.
Yeah, the big problem is whenever I was a kid playing through this the first time, I was not strong enough as a Jedi to be able to really win any of the Storm Beast fights, so I just ran past all of them, and then come to find out that I'm now the remote having to run past. Oh no, oh god.
That's kind of bad.
It's the Giska situation all over again.
No. Come on, come in here. I need them to come in here.
Over them.
I need you guys to come in here, please. I have 5. Not bad. Alright. I have never seen that happen again. Or ever. So, I guess you can say that's never happened before. Or I pretty much just straight up get stuck.
It happened. She said it, guys. She said it. She said the thing. This has never happened before. What a classic.
Definite classic. Marathon luck involves getting a random crash that loses you 3 minutes. Actually, no. Yeah, 5 minutes. Almost, and then... But thankfully, this last part is, pretty quick. So now we just have to run through this place, which, again, can't be scary because there's just a lot of stuff trying to hit you at once.
When the exile enters the Trace Academy, she will be faced with a choice.
Yeah, so they basically send their army after you, but in typical speedrun fashion, we're just gonna run past them. I'm gonna make a manual save here, because I don't want to crash again. Have to redo 5-minute section. Alright, so there's one last place where we can pretty much get our run invalidated. If we hit this displaced loading zone glitch here, this is the place, so hopefully it's gonna go through there slowly and we're almost home free. This is amazingly enough a valid run even though it's not a PB. Ah, that's annoying. Sometimes the doors like randomly close on you.
Well, since we're nearing the end, do you have any shoutouts you want to do?
Shoutouts to the entire KotoR community. Awesome people. Very helpful. I know as a new runner myself, they've been pretty much very helpful and pretty much teaching me all the basics. Shoutouts to 30 Cents, who was the first router of this game. And I drew a lot of my inspiration from the works that he did. Shoutouts to you as well for making a calculator, as well as finding some really good ideas and optimizations for this run. Because without that data, this category would be a lot sketchier than it is. Even though there's just some things you can't avoid, like glitches. But that's okay. And so now, I'll do more shoutouts in here in a second, but I'm just gonna explain the Scion fight. It's a pretty simple fight here. I'm gonna force enlightenment here. We're pretty much gonna ignore that ad, but we have to fight him 4 times, but since we use all of our really powerful stims, we're gonna deal a lot of damage. And so shoutouts to all the runners, range, indie, lane, 30, you, Will, Orwith, Build. I think I'm forgetting some others. Shoal as well.
Yes, our good boy Shoal. C-dubs.
C-dubs.
Did you say Red Mage?
No, I did not. Red Mage is another very good ratter of this game. Shoutouts to him as well. He's a big KotoR 2 fan. And so now that we've killed Scion very easily, they hype him up, but then we basically just beat him up. It's nothing. Or
He gets all sad and depressed, and that's how we kill him.
Yeah. He basically just lives infinitely because, in exchange for feeling a lot of pain. Also, this is, the final boss fight against, your mentor, aka Super Saiyan Kreia. Once she gets down to a certain threshold, she just spams that.
Good.
And then after, on the second part, she, summons a whole bunch of, floating lightsabers. And since we do a lot of damage, we can easily out DPS her. And time's coming up soon, by the way. Just should be like in a couple hits here. When he's at 0 HP. And time.
At last.
GG.
Done. You are greater than any I have ever trained. By killing me here.
That was a great run, Sanjan.
Yeah, that was a pretty good run with all the little snags and that unfortunate crash. So, yeah, sorry for the crash. Unfortunately, we can't really control it because this game likes to glitch a lot.
I'm going to go ahead and plug our Discord in the chat real quick. If you are interested in running KotoR or just interested in keeping up, or if you want to know what's going on with the randomizer, being in the Discord is going to be the best place to go. There we go. Gooby posted it for me. Is where all of our action kind of takes place, and there's always something going on in the Discord in some form or fashion, whether that be races, working on routes, doing silly stuff, community things. There's actually something that may be happening tonight too.
I wonder what it is.
Yeah, so keep an eye out. But thank you for the run. Thank you for having me, Sanjan.
Yeah, thanks for commentating, and thank you everyone for watching. Sorry, this went a little bit over estimate because those pesky game crashes. If not for those meddling little memory leaks, this would have been underestimate. But yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Feel free to join the Discord if you're interested in KotoR speedrunning. We're definitely a very friendly bunch, and we love helping people. So yeah, that's about it. That's all that I have.